First, I just want you to notice that it takes so long for it to update the highlighted index. And if we refresh this browser, it takes forever for us to render those items. And this isn't even with the 6x slowdown or anything. This is in desperate need of virtualization. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to come down here at the bottom first to get our app all nice and virtualized. Actually, what I need first is this use virtual hook from React Virtual. So let me grab that and then come down here to our app, and we're going to call use virtual, and we're going to pass some configuration options, and that's going to give us back a row virtualizer object. And these options are a size, and this needs to be the size of our list, our virtual list that we're going to make. So we've got our items right here, and we'll say length. And then we need a parent ref. So this is the scrollable view. So let's say parent ref is going to be a list ref. Let's go ahead and create that list ref right here. And that's going to be React use ref. All right. And then the next thing that we need is the estimate size. And that's going to be a memoized function. So this is like react.memo, but for a function. So we're going to say react.use callback. We'll pass it a function. And for us, actually, we really only care about having a size of 20. So it's going to be 20 height no matter what row we're on. But this estimate size will accept the item, so we can make an estimate on how big it would be if we needed this size to be dynamic. And then we're going to specify an overscan. And what this does is it allows us to say how many rows above and below this list do we want to actually render. I'm going to go ahead and say 10. So let's go ahead and console log that row virtualizer so we can take a look at what we're dealing with here with that value we get back from use virtual. So we're going to get a couple re-renders. I'm going to just look at this last one. So we have scroll to index, scroll to offset, total size. This is going to be the size in pixels. So that's the number of items multiplied by that estimate size for each one of those items. And then we get our virtual items. So because our list is so short here, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then plus some extras for our overscan. So this virtual items, each one of these items has an index, a start, and a size, and an end. And those are the things we're going to use to get our virtual items rendered to the page. So with that now, let's go ahead and wire the rest of this stuff up together. So I'm going to come down here to the props that I'm passing to my menu, and I need to pass that list ref, and this is going to be the scrollable element so that React Virtual can handle scrolling in there. And then our virtual rows is going to come from the row virtualizer dot virtual items. And then our total height will be that row virtualizer dot total size. Now remember, React Virtual works for horizontal lists as well as vertical lists and even grids. And that's why this is virtual items instead of virtual rows and total size instead of total height. But because we're doing just rows, I decided to rename those for the props. So with that now, I'm going to scroll up here and accept those props right in my menu. So I'll have our list ref and virtual rows and our total height. And then in addition to all of the menu props that our combo box wants us to pass, so here we're getting that get menu props from the use combo box. So in addition to all the props that it wants, we're also going to pass a ref prop for the list ref right there. So now React Virtual has access to the node that React creates for this unordered list. And then from here, instead of mapping over the 16,000 items that we've got, I only want to map over the virtual rows that we're accepting as props here. So this is going to be much fewer and a lot easier for the browser to handle. So we'll say virtual rows.map. And now, instead of accepting the item in the index, we're going to accept a virtual row. And I'm going to go ahead and destructure properties off of that, like index, size, and start. And then I'm going to actually take all of this, and we're going to make it not an implicit return. We'll make it an explicit return. So I can make my item variable, which is going to come from the items, which I'm still accepting as props. So I still do have access to those 16,000 items. I'm just not going to render them all. We're going to take that items and grab the items at the index. So we know which item we're actually trying to represent with this virtual row. And now I can use that same item for all of the properties that I had before. And now the difference between what we had before and what we're going to do now is going to be a little obvious when I save this. We get a re-render. So you'll notice, what in the world? So we're getting some really funny behavior here. And what's happening is I'm not able to scroll through the whole list. So what I need to do is make it so that the scrollable view shows the entire list. And there are a couple ways to do this. But what we're going to do is I'm going to create a list item right here that only has the style with the height of the total height. And so now there's a list item that has that total height there. And I'll save that. And what in the world? Okay, so I can scroll through this. What's going on here? Oh, and there it is at the bottom. Oh, I know what's going on. These are going to be positioned after the list item here. So what I need to do is I want to position this as absolute positioning. And our UL right here is relative so that these LIs can be relative to this unordered list. So let's go ahead and get rid of all this nonsense right here. And we're going to create styles that will apply to these list items, ultimately getting applied to this LI. So let's go ahead and grab that now. We'll take a style prop and we'll spread that style prop right here to combine the styles here with the styles we get from the props. And then I made a handy little function for you where we can get virtual row styles. That's going to position us absolute. We'll get top and left at 0. Our width is 100%. Our height is the size for this particular row. And then we'll use a transform for translate Y to move this list item exactly where it should be in the list based on where the user has scrolled in this virtual list. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and grab this. We'll say style equals get virtual row styles. We'll pass the size and the start. And then we're taking those styles and forwarding them along to the style that's applied to the LI. We'll save that. And now things are looking pretty swell. And you'll notice this is highlighting really fast. We're scrolling super fast and everything's looking awesome. I can search for Salt Lake. And wow, this is really fast. Like, I'm feeling pretty solid about this experience that we've built. We have things running in a web worker. We have things virtualized. We can scroll for days. And it is lightning fast thanks to the virtualization. Let's go ahead and take a look at the DOM here and see what's actually going on. So here we've got our LI. We've got some stuff from Downshift, and there's our style. We have our translate Y. It's like 301,760 pixels. But as I scroll this, you'll notice that these things are getting updated so that it looks like we're just scrolling a normal list, but we're actually updating that translate value, and we really have only rendered a handful of LI elements here. A far cry from the 16,000 that we could be rendering right now. And this is what makes it so stinking fast. So in review, what we did here was a lot of working around these two libraries that we have, Downshift with this use combo box, and React Virtual with this use virtual hook. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're doing here is we're letting use virtual know the size of our list, have access to the scrollable element for our list, know what the size of each one of those elements should be, and know how much after and before our list we should render. And then we pass along that information to our menu. And then our menu, rather than rendering each individual item of the list, we're rendering those virtual rows, and then applying some styles to each one of these list items so that they can be rendered where they should go. And then we also added a little LI right here to handle the scrollable size of our list. Now there's one other thing that we need to make sure we do here, and that is if I come down, oh, you notice, nothing's happening. Well, what's going on? So I'm changing the highlighted index by doing up and down in that input. And if I actually start right here and go down, you'll notice there it is. And if I go, everything is working fine. If I go back up, we're going to loop around to the back of the list, but that's actually not happening. So when Downshift updates the highlighted index, we need to make sure that that highlighted index is scrolled to. So there's one simple thing that we need to do here, and that is in the use combo box, we're going to say on highlighted index change. This is going to give us the changes And then we'll say row virtualizer. Remember that scroll to index function we saw earlier? There it is. We're going to say changes.highlighted index. So we want to scroll to the highlighted index. Let's go ahead and save that. And now I can arrow down, and if I arrow up, then there we go. And now React Virtual is responsible for scrolling me to where I need to go. And Downshift doesn't need to worry about scrolling, which means I can also override the scroll into view function inside of Downshift to actually do nothing, because I know that React Virtual is going to handle that for me. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And everything's working super well, and it's outrageously fast. And so our boss is super happy, and we just got a raise. Congratulations.